Welcome back everybody. It's been just a few days since the last video, but we actually do have a lot to talk about. Initially we had the spike in Hcmc's price, obviously taking us up to about 0.002, and of course since then, unfortunately we have fallen down to the 0.0015 range, touching now even on the 0.0014 range. There are some fairly decent reasons for this, and of course we do actually have quite a lot to talk about in this video. We have some relatively new news, we have some updates in the lawsuit from just a few days ago. Basically, this episode is a recap on what we have seen both today and just yesterday on Monday. So all of that is coming up in this video. It's going to be quite a short one, I do hope, but we're trying to pack in everything that we need to know. So again, if it sounds like something that you may enjoy, make sure to give this video a like. As usual guys, I am going to state it to you, I am not a financial advisor, I am not a lawyer, I am just somebody on the internet with an opinion making videos, so please don't take this as fact, as it is only my personal opinion and interpretation. On top of that guys, I do own shares of Hcmc, you do know this from previous episodes, but like I said in that episode, I was waiting for an order of 500,000 shares, on top of the 1 million that I owned, of course bringing me up to about 1.5, 1.6 million. Actually, on top of that, I have bought more shares, and currently now my holdings in Hcmc is around 2.2 million, with an order of around 300,000 shares more to go in. So you can see there, I look to own around 2.5 million shares of Hcmc. Hopefully the next order will process pretty soon, but there we go, that is my personal position. So now I've mentioned that, we are going to start off by looking at the price of Hcmc and then getting back to some of the most recent news which you may want to know. So we're going to start off by looking at the more simple charts, because this allows us to explain things in a very simple manner. If you guys do remember from just a few days ago, we were seeing this constant barcoding with the price of Hcmc. This continued for about a month to be honest, and it was actually even happening even in the later part of last week. Now, it did appear that we had hit a floor down here in the 0.001 range. Now, this did appear to be the case. We hit 0.001, and from there, we actually started to go back up ever so slightly to about 1.2, 1.3. Obviously, we didn't rock it as the charts can dictate. However, on the Friday late in the session, we actually did see a massive increase in price, taking us all the way up to 0.0019. And this was pretty remarkable, guys. I did actually check the price of Hcmc. I was pretty amazed when I did see it rocket this high. And actually, on top of that, we actually did have Monday, which brought us even higher, touching the 0.002 range. Now, Friday, I definitely think it was a lot of hype getting into the stock. I definitely think that there are some decent reasons for that, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of reasons why the price rocketed by as much as it did, but obviously people were very happy about the lawsuit and the Friday update, which we were anticipating happening more late in the session. So that is what we saw on the 16th, and then of course when markets did open up again on Monday, a bit more of a rally in price as people were very hyped up again after that big monumental rally on Friday, buying more shares on Monday morning, but unfortunately it wasn't to last, and now the price has fallen down to 0.0015, touching even now on 0.0014. Is this a bad thing? Absolutely not. There are some decent reasons for it falling, one of which is because it did get hyped up very quickly. And as I have said many a time before, I believe in Hcmc, I think it has a lot of potential, but what we really do need to remember with the stock is, even though it is a decent buy in my opinion, we haven't really seen anything in the lawsuit happen, to a decent extent at least. Yes, we've had these documents filed, which we're about to talk about in just a moment, but this is not major news. We are still waiting on a win, we're still waiting on a settlement, or even a dismissal of the case. Now, all of this could happen fairly soon, but of course we are still waiting on that. Until we do have the information of that, we aren't really going to see too much movement in the share price, I do believe. I think that a lot of people are anticipating massive moves up to 1 cent, 5 cent, 10 cent, $1. I have said it before guys, on the high end of those estimates, $1, it can happen if we do get some sort of a buyback, which I'm going to speak about more in just a moment as well. As far as 1 cent concerned, 5 cents concerned, I definitely think 1 cent and beyond is possible, and the reason which makes me think that is because looking back to only a few months ago, back in February when we hit highs in the stock's price, we were basically in the 0.005 range and even 0.006 range. So what does this mean? Basically, we were at half of a cent at that point. And bear in mind, this is with no news about the lawsuit. Now, last Friday we saw a massive rocket in price again, and again it did involve some information about the lawsuit, but it wasn't major information. As I have said in many a previous video, can you guys just imagine if this is a reaction that we get from minor news, what would happen if we saw some major breakthroughs and revelations in this lawsuit? So I do think there is a lot of potential for this stock, but again, I am still holding this one more long term, just to wait and see what happens with that lawsuit. But yeah, let's start and get on with the information that we have been seeing. But just before we do, I do want to focus on the volume that we have been seeing, because I know it is something which you guys are interested in. Today, it does look like we have seen volume of about 1.99 billion, so basically 2 billion volume today, according to Yahoo Finance. Now, yesterday we saw volume figures, or at least, yesterday we saw volume figures of around 2.02 billion. On Friday, we saw volume of about 420 million apparently, and this is according to Yahoo Finance as well. And you can see that has been the trend for the past 2 or 3 days. Overwhelming volume in the past 2 days specifically, and again this is continuing into today, which is good. It shows a lot of interest in the stock, so even though we are seeing a lot of sell-off, I think it is to be expected. Obviously after such a big rally, perhaps people taking profits, and I don't think it's anything to be concerned of to long-term holders, in my personal opinion at least. But yes, let's move on to this information around the lawsuit. So one thing that we did cover on Friday's video is the document that we had filed on the 16th. So we covered this both on Friday evening and Saturday, how important this was and what it meant. And people were asking what this extra document on the Monday meant. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, from what I kind of make out from this basically shows us that the motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim, or what they have submitted on Friday, has officially been submitted to the judge, Mr. Timothy C. Batten. So basically, now he has this information and it's up to him to make a decision. People are asking all the time, both on StockTwits and in my YouTube comment section, how long will this take? How long will it take for the judge to make a decision? And I hate to say this, guys, but as far as I'm aware, there is no official date that the judge has to make a decision by. He can do this whenever he wants. He could do it right now, he could do it in 10 minutes, he could do it in 10 days. You know, it could take forever if he wants it to. But obviously, we are waiting on this one. It definitely could happen fairly soon, I do believe. Perhaps within, 1 to 3 weeks, I would expect. But again, that is not confirmed, and I am not a lawyer or a legal expert. That's just my opinion. Let's move on to some other information that we do have. We have today, of course, 420 is the date, so we do have a sale from Hcmc. We're going to get into this top information in just a moment, but let's focus on the sale and the offer that we do have. So you can see as it reads here on their Twitter. It basically says, happy 420 guys, Hcmc followers this is addressed to, get your Q unit now for $20 off, just $49.95 you can see for 1 day only. So again, this is a decent offer. $20 off is quite a lot, and you can see it just shows us the company has another incentive to make people want to buy the product. So very happy to see that. It just shows to me, of course, that the company are still doing a lot and actually making full utilization of their Twitter page. So if we do have a quick look at what they are offering here, you can see their information. The Q unit at its lowest ever price apparently. We can see here we also have plus stock up on Q-tips as well. And we can also see receive a free Hcmc hat with any order over $42. So again, that is quite a lot of incentive right there. People really are loving this Hcmc merch, and I think it is pretty cool. Now, one thing which people do focus on a lot on their Twitter, and I think it is actually a fair thing to focus on, is obviously the fact that a lot of people are basically talking about Hcmc stock in their Twitter, which is still a big deal. Personally, I do want to see more people talking about the actual company than perhaps a stock. But again, if the stockholders are still buying the products, I don't suppose it matters either way. Anyway, let's move on to the breaking news that we do have from Hcmc, which was filed just today. We can see it down here if we do have a quick look. So 5 hours ago from Hcmc on Twitter, they have a link to their S1 registration form and 8K filing for the 20th of April 2021. So we can have a quick read of that form if we want to, but of course we can read it in a bit more simple of a manner over on Global Newswire. So Global Newswire basically states here in their title, Healthier Choices Management Corp files a registration statement for rights offering exclusively for its stockholders. So this is interesting, and it is a pretty cool announcement. We're going to basically decipher everything in this article in a very simple way, so get ready for this fantastic reading. So let's start off on the top. Healthier Choices Management Corp, which is of course listed here on the OTC whatever, today announced that it has filed a registration form S1 with the Securities and Exchange Commission, also known as the SEC, for a rights offering to its stockholders. Jeffrey Holman, who is the CEO of Hcmc, released the following letter on Hcmc's stockholders in connection with the right offering. So basically it reads here: Dear valued shareholders, first and foremost, on behalf of the Board of Directors, our executive staff, and everybody at Healthier Choices Management Corp, the company or Hcmc, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our valued shareholders for their support over the years. We can see down here it also says, and also welcome to the most recent shareholders, so he is also acknowledging the fact that a lot of people have been buying Hcmc more recently. Anyway, we can see down here, on top of that, he also says it's worth mentioning that our shareholder count is now at an all-time high and actually sits over 400,000 shareholders strong. Let's take a minute to just think about that, guys. I talked about the Trading 212 hot list just the other day, I think it was on Saturday. Now we have this official information from Hcmc, from Jeffrey himself, who is saying that there is apparently over 400,000 shareholders for Hcmc, and again I can see this one crossing 500,000 pretty soon. So a lot of attention is on Hcmc. This is really good. And again, people talk about the high number of outstanding shares. This is a bad thing. It is a bad thing, don't get me wrong. But with this interest, the outstanding share number and the float as well probably is going to get bought up, as more people do buy and hold Hcmc. So I just want to take a moment to talk about this. Anyway, if we do have a quick read down here, we can see that additionally, he would like to publicly thank their 124 employees who have risen to the test, basically. Let's not read a bit more about that. We can also see that he has also said down here, he would like to basically state to his shareholders that the company's rights offering should not be confused with a reverse stock split, because a lot of people have been talking about a reverse stock split for Hcmc, saying that, this is going to be the bad thing for Hcmc, it's going to bring the share price down, it's going to bring your earnings down. Apparently, they are not doing a reverse split at the moment, at least. We can see this in a bit more detail down here if we have a quick read and see that the company is not pursuing a reverse split concurrently or injunction with its rights offering. Please also note that in general, the company and its board of directors at some time in the future deemed it to be in the best interest of the company and the shareholders to recommend a reverse split. So from what I can tell from this part of the article, we can actually see that, even though they are not planning a reverse split at the moment, it definitely could be something which may happen in the future. But if we do have a quick read further, we can also see this is a recommendation and not necessarily something that is going to happen. This becomes a bit more clear once more if we do have a read down here, and we can see that it says it would have to be sent out by a proxy to the common shareholders, detailing its reasons. It would then need to be approved by shareholders owning 50% of common stock of the company. Without this, the majority shareholders' approval, no reverse stock split can occur. So again, this is basically saying, in my eyes at least, that this is a choice of the shareholders. And again, this is for people who own more than 50% of the stock. So basically, if 50% of the people or 51% of the people do not want a reverse split to happen, from what I can make out, it probably will not happen. I'm not saying this may or may not happen. However, from what I can tell from the sentiment of many stockholders of Hcmc, they don't want to see a reverse split happen. Now in the past, guys, and in the future probably as well, I do believe that a reverse split may not be a bad thing for Hcmc. I've spoke about the fact of a potential buyback for Hcmc, bringing the share price up to $1, and how that could be a great thing, and then doing a 1-4 or a 1-5 stock split or something along those lines, bringing this one in the potential line of being listed on the Nasdaq. I think that would do a lot of good for the company, even though it would reduce the amount of shares that we do own. Anyway, that is the information there from what we have seen. Moving on a bit further, we can see, going back to the rights offering, in order to finance the expansion and protection of the intellectual property and the company's various growth initiatives, we can see that Hcmc will require additional funding. In an effort to achieve this funding and potentially non-dilutive manner to current shareholders as well, we can see that the board of directors has moved with a rights offering exclusively for our shareholders. The rights offering essentially allows the company's shareholders to purchase common stock at a discounted price. We can see this is in a hope to raise capital for the company and also help them in building a significant quote-unquote war chest. So this is definitely a decent thing in my opinion. I think this is a good thing, and I think it does show a step in the right direction. So we can see this will help the company to raise funds, and it will also allow shareholders to buy more shares at a discounted price. So reading down to the bullet points in a more simple manner, we can see right now for every shares of common stock that you own, you can buy an additional 1 share at a discounted price, and this is referred to the quote-unquote basic right. So this is really good, this is really cool. Again, people who want to buy more shares of Hcmc, now you can do it at a cheaper price, so fantastic. And again, this is like a win-win for both the shareholders and for the company, allowing the company to raise more funds, and obviously allowing the shareholders to potentially buy more shares at a discounted price. We can see down here the purchase price will be at a 25% discount to the VWAP, which is the volume weighted price. What we can make out from this information is that obviously Hcmc are trying to raise more funds for their quote unquote war chest. And this is something which I have said about Hcmc many a time before. People are going to think this is a bad thing, some people are going to think this is a good thing. And guys, we are all entitled to our opinions, me included, and my personal opinion is that this is not a bad thing. Of course, it will allow shareholders who do want to buy more shares to buy more shares at a cheaper price, so that is a win-win. On top of that, of course, it is going to help the company to potentially expand, as they can use this fund in protecting their intellectual property, and of course working on their other growth initiatives as well, as the article does state. So people are going to see this as a bad thing. I personally don't think it is. I think it is a great way to get people to buy more shares, and obviously to help the share price as well. So good things coming for Hcmc off this, in my opinion. Again, I think it is a smart move. That's just my personal view. Tell me yours down below. I think this is definitely a step in the right direction if it is going to help Hcmc to build more funds and of course fight more lawsuits in the future, because as we know, Hcmc does have a lot of patents under their belt, and again, perhaps other patents may be being infringed on at the moment. And vaping, or at least this whole industry that Hcmc is in, is a very lucrative business. It's a very high valued market sector. You know, there are billions of dollars in the vaping and smoking industry, and going forwards I can see Hcmc as being a big player in my personal opinion, just based on the amount of patents that they do actually own. We can see we are waiting on this judge's ruling on whether the case is valid or not. Again, we don't know when this is due, but if it is valid and if the case does go through, or if we do get to the next stage of the case, it is going to be a major blow to the Hcmc case for Philip Morris at least, and a major win in Hcmc's favour. So again, it isn't going to be a win for the lawsuit, the next information that we do get, but if the judge does, you know, decide to deny Philip Morris the opportunity to get the case dismissed, it will mean that the case will need to continue on to the next stage, and again, this is just bringing us closer to a potential win for Hcmc. So again, in my eyes, it is a waiting game, it definitely is. It could take a long time, in fact it probably will, but I do think that if this one does work out, it could be amazing for the company, and of course if it doesn't go in their favour, as I have always stated, it definitely could go down, so please just don't be thinking that it's guaranteed to be good. There is also a potential that this one could go down. It's obviously a stock which is worth a fraction of a penny, it's very, very cheap, and you should be aware of the risk associated with that. Of course, it's not a guaranteed win, and if this price does go down, you shouldn't invest more than you're willing to lose. So make sure that you bear all that in mind, guys. Of course, do your own research on this stock, please do, and I will see you all in the next video very, very soon. Goodbye, see you then.